Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning into Molly's Salon. This is our weekly program every Thursday evening where I interview innovative thinkers and creative firebrands. And these firebrands are a variety of artists and leaders discussing new ideas, how they're coping with the coronavirus, and glimmers of hope for the future. My guests tonight are a Newsies Reunion, and I directed this wonderful musical earlier in the year at Arena Stage. And joining me are Daniel Maldonado, who played Jack Kelly, Joe Montoya, who played Crutchie, and Erin Weaver, who played Katherine Plumber. Daniel first discovered his love for theater in middle school when he performed in his first show, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. He recently earned his BFA in musical theater from Rider University. So Daniel, Daniel, you have a mask on. Show us the
mask. I do.
Now, what is this? What does this have on it?
It is a Harry Potter mask. And my uncle made it for me. He's been making a lot of masks. And he specifically made this for me. And on top of it, I mean, you don't really see Harry Potter much. It's really just Ron and Hermione, which are the real stars of the show, to be completely honest.
Oh, there's Hermione.
There's Hermione.
There's Hermione.
And then
Show us Ron.
Ron, if you really open up, you see Ron. And then if you flip it over and kind of look in the corner, there's Harry.
Oh, I love it.
Real fans. You see Luna a little bit. Luna Lovegood in the corner there, just a hair. So
what a great uncle. What a great uncle. So where are you, Daniel? Are you in New York? Where are you?
I am in Wellington, Florida, with my family. I initially started, so I did a little bit of, I will admit, I did a little bit of traveling, all within CDC guidelines and everything. I started in New York with my family, and I was apart from my girlfriend at the time. And after about, I think 2 or 3 weeks of quarantining, I wanted to see my girlfriend. Now, this was actually before things got really serious. This was like towards, I think, second to last week of March. And then I rented a car by myself and drove down to Virginia where my girlfriend was quarantining. And when I first got there, I quarantined myself for about a week and a half, wore a mask, didn't talk to anyone. And I spent about 2 months down in Virginia, right outside of the DC area. And after about 2 months, I started really missing my family, and I wanted to try to make a trip back up to New York. But it just so happened that my parents were specifically thinking of coming down to Florida, where they have a rental that they usually rent out to people, but due to the virus is empty. So they have this house that has been opened up, and they were gonna come down here and vacation. And I thought, what a perfect way to kind of squeeze in a vacation and also visiting family within a safe manner as well, since my parents were also quarantining for 2 months straight. So we came down here and we're spending about 3 weeks down in Florida, being safe and quarantining.
So is it wild down there? I mean, some of the photos that we see, people aren't wearing masks. They're kind of all on the beaches. It's crowded, or are people being safe where you are? What is it?
It does depend on where you go. Grocery stores and other businesses are being very careful. I went to go get a pedicure, and I truly felt like I was getting a surgery with the way that they were handling the situation. I had to get my temperature taken, wash my hands, sign a waiver, and there was shower curtains set up every other table. But there was a trip that I did take just to gander at the beach, and I was wearing my mask and being safe, but some businesses closer to the beach and some of the people there were very, very unsafe, and it made me actually feel a little uncomfortable. We didn't spend a lot of time there at all. We kind of just hightailed it out of there because a lot of people aren't wearing masks, and a lot of people, there were some businesses that kept us, tape on the ground, 6 feet guidelines, and some businesses weren't. And I had to remember, and I had to remind myself that I can't control what other people do. So I did take a risk in trying to go out and see what it was like, to see if people were really following guidelines or anything like that. And it's true, some of them really aren't. But I can't control that. So the best I can do is just wear my mask, wash my hands, and worry about myself. So I've learned my lesson, and I've kind of taken myself out of that situation. So if there ever is a chance to go to the beach, I am just going to stay home.
Well, Daniel, you know, it's so interesting because you played the character of Jack in Newsies, who is all about control and all about wanting to be able to control the situation. So do you feel like there is relevance in the story of Newsies and their grit and determination and what's happening to us now in the world, and particularly in the United States?
Yeah, there absolutely is. I mean, it depends on who you talk to or who you speak to, because obviously the Newsies were on strike for things that they didn't feel fair. And we're seeing examples of that all across the country, of people who are on strike for things that they don't think are fair. And now I don't necessarily agree with them, but they are exercising the same rights that we all are, whether it's safe or unsafe. You know, again, I don't agree with that. But I do think there is an element of finding some type of compromise. And I do feel that now we are, as more states are opening up towards phase one and things like that, a lot of businesses are trying to find that compromise. So I bring up that example of when I went to get a pedicure at the nail salon. And when I went there, that's where I actually had a sudden realization of like, okay, this virus may not be going away anytime soon, but it is possible so long as there is a compromise within the businesses. You know, people may want to get out there and get to working and do whatever, but we need to have some type of checks and balances here, because the safety of humanity is way more important. And while yes, the economy is also very important in today's day and age, we do need to have some type of economy boosting. There has to be some type of meet and greet. So I do feel, after going to that nail salon, I was like, it is possible to reopen the economy as long as everyone is willing to follow the rules. Now, whether people are up to that or not, again, I can't control. You know, there will be some people that are against that, but I do see that parallel in there. You know, at the end of the show, at the end of Newsies, there is a compromise made. You know, the Newsies didn't get exactly what they wanted, but they got enough that made them feel they can go back to work. And Pulitzer didn't get exactly what he wanted, but he got enough to feel comfortable to make this agreement with the Newsies.
Yeah, yeah. You know, thinking about musicals and thinking about your love of music, talk to us about a musical or music that you're listening to now that you really adore.
So I've been listening to a lot of relaxation music, not like meditation or anything, like just like fun, you know, could be pop, could be whatever. I'm just trying to listen to music that just kind of like gets me in a mood that makes me forget about what's going on in the world. But in terms of musicals, there actually is one musical that popped into my head recently. It was one of the very first musicals I've ever done. And there's one song that really came into my head of like how relevant it is today. And I might get a little political, but it's Lil Abner. And that is a really old, like reaching into the bag of musicals. And there's a song called The Country's in the Very Best of Hands. And that song is just a total satire of this little town of people who are so unaware of politics, singing about how they think the government is doing such a fantastic job with everything. And everything they're singing about is everything that the government does that they shouldn't be doing to run the country. And that song and that musical just popped into my head. I'm just like, wow, I can't believe like that is such a relevant, like throughout the history of the United States, there have been discrepancies and disputes and all that stuff. But in terms of my own in personal listening and relax and enjoyment, I've just been listening to relaxation music, especially down in Florida, just a little bit of maybe reggae or, you know, just laid back, kick back music, because I need to take a break from what's going on, because it can bring me down so much, and it has brought me down a lot. So I needed to try to lift myself up out of that for a little bit.
Well, you certainly lifted up thousands of audience members with your gorgeous performing, and I adored working with you. And thank you so much for coming on the Salon. And I hope to see you really soon, Daniel, in the flesh.
Molly, sooner rather than later, please.
Much love to you. Take care.
Love.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Joe Montoya has a BFA in musical theater from Pace University, and he often seeks out roles that shine a spotlight on LGBTQ experiences and people of color. Earlier this year at Pace University, oh my gosh, he's got his mask on too.
Hi.
Okay, only actors. You played Eponine in Les Mis, becoming the first ever sanctioned male actor to interpret that iconic role.
Yep.
So that must have been pretty amazing, right, Joe?
It was. I shout out to Zai Ali Khan if he's watching. He cast me. It was fantastic. It's been pretty epic.
That's great. That's great. So, Joe, I'm going to ask you a similar question to the one that I asked Daniel. Do you think Newsies resonates in this pandemic era? And if it does, how is it doing that for you? What does it make you think about? You know, the really good musicals, you can put them in different time periods and they suddenly shine a different light.
Yes, I think it does resonate right now because, I mean, especially with what's going on in light of this week. I mean, people protesting, people marching, people, I mean, going up against the police in Minneapolis and all, I mean, fighting for Black Lives Matter and what we're seeing in pushback against this assault on the Black community. I think when I think back to the show, I feel so passionate when I listen to when I listen to the lyrics again about what is fair, what is just, when we're not asking for a free ride, we're asking to be valued. We're asking to be treated fairly. And I think that's, that really builds within me and makes me listen to shows like Les Mis again, which has very similar themes.
Yeah, because when we worked on Newsies, we really focused on the youth revolution and what was happening with everyone from Greta Thunberg to young people in Parkland, Florida to Black Lives Matter. That was something really important to us, and it continues on. It's powerful. You know, the other part of it that triggers me is just the kind of grit and determination these young people had, which is the kind of grit and determination I think we all have to have right now.
Yeah. I mean, we're facing something that, I mean, not just, we're facing a virus that we have no immunity to. We're facing an uncertain economic future. We're facing uncertain political future with voting. It's a lot of uncertainty, and people have a right to do all of the internal work that they need to turn inside, that they can, to really take a reckoning with themselves on how they feel about politics, how they feel about race, how they feel about these things that have maybe been floating in the background of their life, of their mind. And sometimes when you look at re-examine a piece, a show, a musical, a play, it highlights to you, it makes you remember what drove you and what matters to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This pandemic, which is something nobody has faced before. I mean, this is the critical moment in my generation, and I'm sure it is in your generation. And we're, 40 years apart. Yeah. And still, we're all going through something that nobody understands. We're facing it together. We're facing it in different ways in our families. So where are you, Joe? What does your neighborhood look like right now?
I'm in New York, specifically Washington Heights, and in the north of Manhattan. And it's been pretty quiet up here. It used to be this bustling neighborhood, and it's actually become rather village-like. Which every little neighborhood in New York is distinct and has their own like kind of definitive borders, and that's somehow people aren't traveling as much due to the safety conditions with the subway. So it's really people have really become dependent on their communities and their in ways that I think they might have taken for granted before the pandemic and before the shutdown.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This whole idea of little neighborhoods, it almost feels like we've moved into a time where we're hyper local. We're really focused on the local. Yes, the national, but all the decisions that are being made province by province, area by area, neighborhood by neighborhood, city by city,
Definitely.
State by state, as opposed to the nation. So it's a really, really different time.
Yeah,
So,
my friends and I, we've talked about creating sort of social bubbles. I saw this really illuminating video essay on a brief video essay on COVID-19, and taking, if the virus is on a pool table and everybody is a ball on the pool table and the white pool ball is touching everyone, if you take yourself out of the pool table, then but if you're allowing yourself a few people, if you're and with a trust and a communication and a network of like, hey, maybe I don't see you for like a week or two because I went a little too far. We're all trying to negotiate what feels correct, what feels safe, what feels responsible.
That must be awful for you at your age, when you want to be out with people and hanging out and being with the gang. I mean, how do you navigate that? Or does it make you feel a little bit suspicious or paranoid or questioning in a way that you wouldn't have before?
I'll say yes, it makes me feel an anxiety, a paranoia, a mistrust. But then I also I'm a person who tries to like challenge myself. So I see it as certain generations have challenges. Nearly 40 years ago, there was the AIDS epidemic. Before 100 years ago, there was the Spanish flu. This is coronavirus of 2020. Generations stand up, and like the themes in Newsies, generations come into their own. They take on a responsibility, because I myself, I'm in one of the age groups that is the least likely to die of this new disease. And I have a responsibility not to spread it to people, not to the people I love, because I have a lot of older friends, I have a lot of mentors, and I have a responsibility not to spread it to my friends in my age group or to people younger than myself. So social distancing is my responsibility.
Wow, that's great. That's great, Joe. Working on Newsies was such a highlight of my life because of this entire company and the kind of joy that you all brought to the audience and to each other, and that kind of fierceness of purpose that you all had. So I'm wondering, where are you finding joy these days? Because you have such an ebullient personality.
Thank you. Newsies brought a lot of joy to my life, honestly. I'll say that to you, and I think you know that. I'm finding joy in music. I'm listening to things I never listened to, or I thought, I'll get to that. I'm finding the time to really dig in and revisit things that made me, like my favorite books, rereading them, because I haven't read The Iceman Cometh since 9th grade, I'm listening to, Tchaikovsky again, because I thought I'll get to it, and now I'm finding the joy in actually checking things off my list.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm listening to a lot of Yo-Yo Ma right now.
Ooh.
And, I have found that a lot of classical music is taking me where I want to go right now. Because it's big, it's overwhelming, it's complex, it's deep, it's all those things. So I hear you talking about Tchaikovsky too. Okay, I've got 1 more minute left.
Okay.
Tell me 2 musicals you'd love to do.
Cabaret and Sweeney Todd again.
Woo, great. We've got a question here from Decker saying, but what about jazz? Are you a jazz lover too?
I love jazz. Miles Davis all day. paint me a kind of blue.
Thank you so much, Joe. I love you. It's so great to see you.
So good to see you.
Take care. We'll see you soon.
You too. Please stay safe.
I will.
Oh.
I will. Bye.
Bye.
Next up is Erin Weaver. She is a 7-time Helen Hayes Award winner. She's a Washington area veteran. Interestingly, her first major theater job was playing young Cosette and Eponine, just like Joe played Eponine in the first national tour of Les Mis in Philadelphia for about 6 months when she was 10. So we have a Les Mis connection here. So, hi, Erin. Oh, and this is Dr. Fauci, right? All right.
Yeah, it's a little
All
big.
right.
I'm holding it up, but just want to join the mask club. I love this mask. Give it to
I
a
love
smart
it.
friend.
The health czar for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Fauci, the one that we listen to.
Yeah.
So, Erin, you have a family, and you're in the middle of family life. And tell us what's going on with your daughter, where you are right now, what's happening with school, anything you want to talk about.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, as theater people, this is bizarre that we're all home together, that I'm home at the same time my husband's home, over and over and over again. And that has been a silver lining for sure for us. And one of my favorite parts about this is getting to homeschool Maisie. And I say that with a lot of awareness, that I'm lucky enough that I'm able to really do that with her. I only have one kid. I don't have 2 or 3 or 4. I mean, I'm in awe of the parents right now and what they're doing, particularly with multiple kids, full-time jobs. But so we're in a room in our house called the Snug. That's what we call it. And it's kind of a guest room turned into an office, but now it's Maisie's classroom. So let's see, I can show you her desk over here. Move my big old computer. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is like, put a little pillow on the ground, and I took an ottoman and put a little dry erase board on it, and she's got, markers and tools and things like that, and her little board back behind me. And do you want to see her Google Meet schedule?
Yeah.
So she goes to Friends Community School in College Park, and they have done an amazing job with the online school. And so I have to do this, otherwise we'll miss everything. So every week I do can you see that?
Yeah.
I do this Google Meet calendar for all the things that I have. I only have a couple things on there, and then Maisie has all the rest.
Oh my God.
It's really intense. And here's another one. I'll show you another one.
So you have to be incredibly organized during this time with your daughter and with your family.
It is a full-time job. There's no doubt about it. And it's, I love watching my daughter learn. She's really loves learning, and I'm lucky that it's not always easy. It is sometimes like pulling teeth, but for the most part, she's very easy to work with. And her teachers are with her all the time. Here's another one.
Oh my gosh.
This is all next week. The last week of school. And I've got my wall has all of these syllable types and vowel team types and pictures of birds, and it's a full-on classroom in here. It's amazing.
Well, the Snug is an appropriate name for your space.
Yeah, we actually took a lot of time to figure out what we were going to name this room, and so I think it was Erin, my husband, who came up with the Snug. And it's
the Snug.
Yeah,
it's totally fun. So you're a deep thinker as an artist, and how are you redefining your art in this time? And does that cause you to redefine yourself in this time? It's a big question, I know.
Yeah, it's a great question, though. I mean, I almost think for me, it's been the other way around. I've been really thinking about who I am, and I've been on a journey lately to get back to my authentic self. I feel like I had her there for a while, and then I became a mom, and I was balancing, and I'm getting older, and as I'm getting older, I'm used to playing these roles where I'm this young girl or something, but I'm aging out of that stuff. And so I think, especially because I've been so focused on being a mom in a lot of ways. And with work, I've been so lucky to be working. I'm coming up on a birthday, a very special birthday in June. And I've been thinking a lot about who I was, who I am, who I want to be. And I've just been doing a lot of work on that. And that in turn has been making me think a lot about what I want my career to look like and what I want to do. I've actually been thinking a lot about this, but that's all I've been doing is thinking about it. Nothing's happened yet. I don't have any.
Not doing it, but thinking about it. Does
Yeah.
in the middle of it, does it make you think, oh yes, as an artist, where I am is I'm an actor? Or are you also thinking, oh, I might move into directing, I might move into writing, I might move into, because artists, I mean, we're multidimensional, you know, and we can slide back and forth sometimes. Are those some of your thoughts too?
Yes. I mean, I've always wanted to direct, and I think the thing, I'm not in a rush to do it, especially with Maisie still being so young, but it's something that I'm thinking a lot about. I've been thinking about assistant directing. And so if you ever need an assistant director, I really want to watch the pros. I want to watch and learn. I love whenever I get a chance to assist Erin on shows. So right now I'm thinking about what I want to say. I'm still in limbo. I'm not quite there yet, but I have been thinking a lot about directing. I sometimes play with the idea of writing, but I feel like we already have one writer in the family, and actually now two. Maisie's really big into her. Maisie is writing a novel right now, which is very exciting, her first novel. So I'm just in this really comfortable place where I'm wondering what's next. Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting that both you and your husband, Erin, are in the theater. Mm-hmm. And having two people in the theater, and then your daughter who seems to be writing and doing other things.
Yeah.
What kind of resonance do you have in your family because of that, having artists in the family?
I mean, it's heaven. We get each other, and it's especially important when we are away as much as we are. And it's hard on Maisie for sure. She misses us, and but when she comes to rehearsals to see Newsies, or when the entire Newsies cast sings happy birthday to her, I couldn't be there for her birthday, but right. She has this amazing video, which by the way, she watches over and over again. Like every once in a while.
Does she really?
I just hear the cast of Newsies. I hear all of you guys singing. It's an incredible video. And she just watches it every once in a while. I mean, she loves all of you, and she loves what we do, and she's interested in it. And so I think she's going to be taking a camp this summer. We love it because we're all sort of feeding off of each other. I work with Erin on stuff that's sort of outside my lane, and he's helping me, and we help her, and she's teaching us. It works for us. I can't imagine it any other way.
That's great. Are there any musicals you're thinking about right now? Or what kind of music do you all listen to at home? Because you're musicians too.
Yeah. One of the things that's been coming up a lot is Indigo Girls, which I loved when I was in high school and college. And, when you just listen to something to death and you feel like you kind of grow out of it. And, but I've been listening to it, and it's interesting. I don't think I really appreciated their lyrics. I just like the harmonizing, and I like the guitar, and I used to play guitar, and I'm hearing them now, and I feel like I'm connecting with that music more than I ever really did. And Maisie loves it, and Erin loves it. And so when we have like the end of a long week, when we're cooking and, we get to just sit and eat together, we've got the Indigo Girls blasting. And I've been trying to pick up the guitar again. That's been my big goal, is to start playing again. In terms of musical theater, as you know, musical theater scares the beep out of me. I just hate myself. And honestly, any musical. I've always wanted to be in Sunday in the Park with George. There's a musical, Violet, that I've always loved.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But for me, any musical, because they scare me and they challenge me, and I have so much to learn in general, but particularly in the musical theater world. So Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Erin, for being on. It was such a joy. Thank you for showing us the snug, and thank you for our relationship. I've been lucky to work with you twice now, both in Mother Courage and in Newsies, and it is always a joy.
Those two experiences were two of the most important experiences of my career, and I'm so grateful for you. And thank you so much for having me. This has been so nice.
Love you. Hope to see you soon.
Yep, I hope so.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. So my guests next week are a trio of artistic directors from around the country: Stephanie Ibarra from Center Stage in Baltimore, Barry Edelstein, the Old Globe in San Diego, and Mark Clements from Milwaukee Rep. Seeing the Newsies gang just moved the heck out of me. I miss that whole cast so much. It was a wonderful company. And we have something special for you tonight. We have two different gifts of art. Earlier, we shared Daniel's on the Salon, so we won't see him tonight, but we have two great gifts of art from Erin and from Joe. So please enjoy.
Hi, I'm Maisie Posner.
And I'm Erin Posner.
And I'm Erin Weaver.
And this is Let It Be. 5, 6, 7, 8. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be.
Hey everybody, it's me, Joe. I wanted to sing you all a song today. It's by John Legend. It's called If You're Out There. I was looking for a song to sing. I was searching for a leader, but the leader was me. We were waiting on the world to change. We can be heroes. Come on now, sing if you're out there. Sing along with me if you're out there. I'm dying to believe that you're out there. Stand up and say it loud if you're out there. Tomorrow starting now. Save the world, believe again, we can start to mend. We don't have to wait for destiny, we can be the change that we want to see. If you're out there, stand up and say it loud. If you're out there, tomorrow start now. Now. This message, wherever you stand, I'm calling every woman and I'm calling every man. We're the generation that can't afford to wait. The future started yesterday, and we're already late.